Hi, Libra. Welcome to your February 2020 Astrology 33 reading. Thank you to those of you who've liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. And for those of you interested in booking a personal reading with me, just check out the description of the video for more information on that. As far as what we have in front of us, we have a Celtic cross spread as always. You guys got a lot of extra cards that came up there. And we also have a couple of oracle cards we'll look at once we get to the main spread, and also a mudra card. So getting started with the main spread. The main situation position, we have the Nine of Swords. So this could just be pointing to saying that maybe you guys are having a little bit of trouble sleeping. I'm actually recording this a couple days after we had that eclipse in Cancer, which is your 10th house. And then, of course, there's plenty of energy in your 4th house as well, which is your home and family environment. So that could just be adding to the stress in your home environment too. So that could be adding to why you might be having some trouble with sleeping. But yeah, this represents having a lot of thoughts trapped in your mind, really. A lot of anxiety around those thoughts. Now, if I had to take a guess as to what they could be around, I would assume either career or family, and maybe, some early beliefs that you had in childhood. And maybe, looking at those views from back then versus where you are now and trying to see, do they reconcile, because in the Challenger obstacle position, we have the Hierophant. So that to me could point to some beliefs that you might have had. So maybe you're even struggling between two different belief systems. Maybe you have one that you grew up with, and maybe now you're leaning toward a different belief system, and maybe that's the bit of a struggle that you might be going through, trying to decide, well, which one suits you best now. And maybe the eclipse energy just really brought that to the forefront for you guys. On a more mundane level, especially given that eclipse did take place in your 10th house. The Hierophant can also represent big organizations as well. So maybe there's some anxiety around a situation going on in your career life as well. And, maybe trying to decide what's the best course of action to take from there. In the foundation position, we have the Ace of Wands. So this is most likely at least a desire or an idea to take action on something, but not feeling quite ready to do it yet. What I always point out to people that's interested in me in this deck in particular with the aces is we think of an ace as an opportunity for a new, to take a new course of action in some area of life. But what always sticks out to me with this particular deck is the gray background. What seems like it should be a bright, sunny type of a opportunity has the gray background, and to me that represents the neutrality of it all, right? It's like, you could get an idea to take an action towards something, but it still requires you actually go out and do it, right? So it's kind of like a take it or leave it energy, if you will. But yeah, this to me at least represents in some way, shape, or form an idea that you have to take action towards something. And for some of you, it can be around career, like I was saying. In the past position, we have the King of Cups. So this is actually an energy of Scorpio. And for you guys, that is your second house. And I will say, if we look at the Hierophant, looks like he's pointing toward that as well. So that's another indicator that this could definitely be around finances for you guys. Maybe this is even something that might have taken place during Scorpio season that's still, playing out in your minds, especially because during February, we're actually going to have another Mercury retrograde, and it's going to be in Pisces, whereas the last one was in Scorpio. So maybe you're looking at those same themes again, but from a different perspective this time around. So that could be what this is pointing to there. And for some of you, you could be, of course, dealing with the Scorpio or technically any water sign, and possibly even in a relationship connection, because the Hierophant can represent those long-term commitments as well. So maybe you had a separation with a Scorpio recently. That could be what's at play there, for some of you at least. In the present position, we have the Seven of Wands and the Knight of Pentacles. So this is an interesting energy here. This is actually a Leo energy. So for you guys, that could represent your 11th house of groups and friendships. So this could just be saying that maybe you have to defend a decision that you made, maybe around finances, since we do see the Knight of Pentacles energy here. Maybe it's been opposed by some people in your friend group, or maybe even just others in your work environment. That could be one way it's playing out. But this also represents a very slow movement as well. So maybe you're even defending that. Maybe you've been in this situation where your energy's just been wiped, for example, and maybe in your career there's been a lot of demands, and maybe they're saying that they feel that you're not putting out enough production, for example, right? But you could be defending that, saying, look, I have a lot going on here, right? I mean, like I said, the fourth and 10th house are very much lit up for you guys right now, so that could be what this is pointing to. For some of you, again, if this is some kind of financial situation too, it could be you standing up for yourself, saying that you could feel like you're long overdue for some kind of an increase. And usually with the Knight of Pentacles, it does say that, it will eventually arrive, but again, it could just be taking a lot longer than you were expecting it to. In the near future position, we have the Knight of Cups. So for some of you, this could even be something where you're hoping to pursue something. So if we look at the Knight of Pentacles and Hierophant just representing the more traditional standard type of career paths, right? Let's just look at it that way. With this Knight of Cups in the near future position, it could just be saying that you're maybe seeking something that's more fulfilling on an emotional and spiritual level. So maybe that's what this juxtaposition has been between the 4th and 10th too, where you're like, okay, well, I want something that, makes me feel more connected, right? As opposed to just like, let's say, a standard corporate job, right? You're like, okay, well, I do my 9 to 5, I clock in, clock out, okay, but I'm not really feeling fulfilled, right? So maybe that's what you're trying to figure out right now. Or at least trying to combine more of that into your work life, and maybe that could be what's going on. Now, this could also be pointing to the fact that there's a lot of energy. Basically, at the time I'm recording this, I believe Venus pretty much just got into Pisces, and then Mercury will be there soon as well. Like I said, we will have the retrograde there as well, and that's your house of daily routines, work. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe you're trying to incorporate some more emotional or spiritual type of vibes into your work life. Maybe because you're having a lot of anxiety and not feeling as fulfilled. That could be what's at play. Of course, on a more mundane level, this could also be saying that maybe some of you are considering making a love offer to someone or they to you. And that could be at play because in February we'll have Venus, which is your ruler, moving into your opposite sign of relationships. So that could be, let's say, close to the middle of February when that takes place. So right around Valentine's Day, technically, for those of you who celebrate that. The position of your influence on the situation, a lot of cards came up. We have the Devil, the Nine of Wands, the Ace of Swords, and the Hermit. So definitely interesting energies here. The Devil, of course, for you guys, Capricorn is your 4th house of home and family, but the standard rulership for Capricorn is the 10th house, which is career and social status. So again, this could be maybe where maybe you're feeling obligated, right? Because we think about how they're chained up as opposed with the Lovers, they look like they're free to roam. So maybe you feel some kind of an obligation to your career or possibly to your family and home life. But at the same time, you could feel a bit wounded in one of those areas, possibly even both. And maybe you're coming to an insight now, with that Ace of Swords, maybe getting a sudden insight. And with the Hermit energy about maybe some ways where maybe possibly even blind loyalty in some situations, however odd that sounds to hear that. But that's why I'm picking up with this card for some reason. Maybe looking at how just this type of blind loyalty and devotion might be actually getting in your way of your fulfillment, because the Hermit representing Virgo energy, that's your 12th house. And again, like I said, since for Libras, your chart's basically flipped from the standard chart, your first house is everyone else, the standard 7th house, for example. This can also, again, be tying into your work and daily routine, because even though Virgo's your 12th house, it's the standard ruler of the 6th house. So that could be what it's all revolving around. But yeah, primarily that's the main energy that I'm picking up on, though, where maybe you're coming to this realization that maybe you've had this sense of obligation and loyalty to, like I said, it could be family, or just belief systems that you've had growing up. And maybe now you're realizing that it's actually standing in your way. And, now you could really just be looking at that and trying to figure out what's the next step forward, basically. So that's if all of these cards are connected. They can be pointing to different things as well. But this can't even just be saying that maybe, again, with that burnout, maybe you guys are burning out. With that devil energy, maybe you really have been working very hard at your career. Maybe now you're reaching that point of burnout and you're coming at a realization that, you know what, I need to take some time to myself, right? Maybe go inward. For some of you, this could even be maybe you're considering starting a business for yourself because you're realizing that the corporate grind is just, really wearing you guys down. And you're really trying to think of a way, well, how can I really start my own business, right? Because the Hermit's a very solitary energy, so that's why I get that vibe there. In the environment position, we have the Sun, the Tower, and the Six of Cups. So, two pretty positive, bright cards here, and then wedged in the middle of that, we have the Tower, right? So, more interesting combinations here. Okay, so one way this could be playing out could just be saying that some of you could actually just be leaving something behind. Again, like I was saying, the main theme that I'm feeling for a lot of you could be like maybe, again, as a generic example, maybe you're in your standard corporate job, right? Maybe you just were brought up to think that that would be the key to happiness, right? Oh yeah, you go to college, you get degrees, you get this great job, right? And then, everything falls into place. And maybe now you're questioning that, right? Because you're like, all right, I'm achieving the career success, but it's really wearing me down spiritually, right? So with that Knight of Cups energy. So for some of you, this could just be saying that you might even feel inclined to go back to something that you might have done even as far back as your childhood, something that you really just naturally loved to do. But maybe, again, like I said, maybe swayed by family beliefs. Maybe they told you, oh, no, that's not realistic. It's not practical, right? So maybe you went the more traditional route, quote unquote. And now this could just be saying that now you might decide to leave that behind and actually go to something that, you really just had a love for when you were a child and reconnecting with that. And with this representing Scorpio energy too, it can actually say that you do find a way to not only go back to something that you loved as a child, but actually find a way to make it profitable as well. So that could be what's playing out there. Now, that's not to glance over the Tower energy, right? And that could be why we see that Nine of Swords too, which is to say, it's going to be difficult, but you could just be feeling this overwhelming urge to finally make that leap. Now, this can represent someone else in your environment as well. The first way it came across to me was that it's more like the energies at play in your environment that are affecting you to kind of make a move like that. But this can represent someone else as well. And maybe this is someone who you might have known since childhood, and maybe you guys had a falling out, like I was saying, possibly a Scorpio, but it could be anyone. And maybe now you're reconnecting with that person. And, we're going to have the Mercury retrograde theme, so it's certainly possible people from the past can come back around. Yeah, that's really what I'm picking up on. This could be someone that you've known for a long time, or someone that maybe puts you in this energy. When you're together with them, maybe you just felt like very playful, right? And again, it might have been something where family beliefs or possibly your career might have actually been what got in the way of it, right? And maybe now you're realizing that and realizing that, okay, maybe that wasn't worth it, right? So maybe that could be why you could be coming back around to this person. It does look like you would be received fairly well from them if that's the case. Or, it could just be more of a circumstantial thing where, you guys just might have separated, without any drama or anything, but now you could actually be coming back together. Possibly even because you do reconnect to something you used to do in your past, and maybe that brings the two of you back together. In the hopes or fears position, we have the Four of Swords and the Five of Swords in reverse. So, I would say these are both hopes. Now, if this were in the upright, I would say this is a fear, but given that it's in the reverse with the Four of Swords, this can just be saying that you are hoping to mend a connection with someone. Or maybe just if you're feeling, again, if this is a workplace thing, right, this could represent a really hyper-competitive environment, and we see that possibly with that Seven of Wands too, where you could just be saying you're just hoping to take a break from that, right, to unwind, regenerate your energy, just separate yourself from the fray in that regard, right? So that could be how that's playing out as well, for at least some of you. But yeah, I mean, this is actually a Libra energy, and then this is an Aquarius energy, but this could definitely represent that you're hoping to heal from something. So I always say with the hopes or fears, it's not necessarily an indicator that it's going to play out, but it's at least what's on your mind. So it could just represent that, yeah, maybe you're just, you just need a break in general, or there is a falling out, yeah, with someone that you're actually hoping to repair. In the outcome position, we have the High Priestess. So this is a pretty good card to get in the outcome. I mean, as far as it could represent shifting from that mental anxiety to actually getting a grasp over what your intuition is telling you, feeling more in tune with your emotions and more able to handle them and what they're telling you. So that could be what this is pointing to here. It could also just be pointing to, again, what I was saying, we're going to have a lot of Pisces energy in February, including a Mercury retrograde in Pisces, and that's your house of work, daily routine. So it could be the same thing, like where I was saying for some of you, where it could just be saying you find a way to incorporate something more spiritual into your daily routines, into your work routines, right? Like I was saying, if this is around belief systems for some of you too, maybe this is you embracing the new belief system, or maybe even reconnecting the one from your past that you might have gotten away from, and now you find that it actually is making its way back into your life. Maybe you're looking at it from a different perspective now. But that's what I'm picking up on there, and it can be someone else in your environment too that's very intuitive that maybe you're connecting with. Maybe you're getting, maybe for example, on a more mundane level, you're just getting tarot readings, right, to try to figure out how to navigate all of these changes that you might be trying to do but not quite sure how to go about them. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have the Nine of Cups, which to me, well, this is a Pisces energy for one, and I think this is actually the degrees where Mercury will go retrograde, the middle 10 degrees of Pisces, but could just even be pointing to your determination to just be happy, like the reason I'm thinking determination in this particular case is I'm thinking about the way they have their arms crossed, So no matter what craziness might be going on around you, and that could be what the sun is pointing to as well, where you're like, you know what? Just let it crumble, right? With that tower energy, I'm determined to be happy no matter what. So that could be how it's playing out for some of you. All right. Moving on to the oracle cards. First, we have Time for a Nap in reverse. So here it is in the upright. Now, this actually, I very rarely get cards that come up in reverse in this deck, but when cards do come up in reverse in this deck, there's actually a separate message. So we're actually going to read that one for you guys, see what it says. Okay, so it's called the protection message, and it says, "You are a human being, not a human doing. Is it possible you're suffering from workaholism? Could you be the one who thinks it's your job to save everyone, to be there for everyone, and to go, go, go until you can barely see straight? You've gone as far as you can. You've worked hard and nourished people and projects, but now you are an empty well and have no reserves for others or for yourself. Don't let your ego keep you going full speed when your body and spirit need rest. Exhaustion is calling you to stop what you're doing altogether and take a break. If you don't, the appearance of this card could portend a possible illness that stems from being totally overwhelmed. You will feel like a new person if you take that break. Do it now." So definitely interesting energy there. At the very least, looks like that is something that you're hoping to do, right? Which is to take a break. And like I was saying with that devil energy, I was picking up on that vibe that for you guys, it's like this feeling of obligation, right? So like I said, whether it's your family, friends, the way it described in that message, it could be any area of life where you just feel you have to be there for people. Like I said, it could just be this pointing to you guys possibly burning out and maybe coming to that realization that what, I need to take some time for myself. So it does at least look like you do arrive there at some point. And maybe just because it just becomes too hard to ignore with that Nine of Swords energy. But this message there did seem to align with that as well. So something to keep in mind. All right, moving on to the next card. This is from the Spirit Animal Oracle. You guys got Antelope Spirit. It says life is speeding up. So pretty funny. It almost sounds like the opposite of what we were saying, right? Like that one's telling you to slow down. This is saying things are speeding up. So, well, maybe again, it's like saying, all right, yes, we know life is speeding up, but try to slow down, right? So, but we'll see what the message says in the book. So, let me pull that up. Okay, it says when Antelope Spirit rushes into your life, you are being reminded of the quickening of your personal evolution as a powerful co creator. You are being told unequivocally that it's time to get moving. Set your intentions and take action toward making your dreams real. There is an intensity you can feel, and it is important to take advantage of this energy right now. If you have a plan for your career or financial abundance, now is the time to step it up. If you're asking about a relationship, make that first move. Just know that the intentions you have set in motion are coming together now at warp speed. Stay alert and keep up. Things are getting interesting when Antelope Spirit calls you to move quickly. So yeah, it is funny in a way because to me, the two messages almost contradict each other, right? But what I would say if we try to find a way to put them together, this one definitely seemed to be pointing to saying to be mindful of doing things for others, right? Like, okay, don't burn yourself out trying to be there for everyone else because then you won't be able to help them or yourself. Whereas this at least seemed to be more centered on you and what you want to do, right? So again, it could be the same theme where we're saying maybe the corporate world is burning you out as a generic example and you want to do something more spiritual, right? So it could just be saying that that's where those two energies come into play. It's like, all right, well, maybe take a break from that, right? Maybe even just go on a retreat for a couple weeks or something. Could just be a way that those two energies are playing out together. But hopefully they both resonated for you guys in some way. All right. And the last thing we have is a mudra for your sign. So the one you guys got for this month is the Mahashirsha mudra. This is it here. The keyword for it is relief. Sounds like you guys could use that, right? So we'll see what it says. Okay, so if you want, you guys can pause it or take a screenshot if you want to read what it has to say. But under benefits, it says relieves headaches, reduces tension in the eyes, breaks up congestion in the frontal sinuses, improves mental clarity. So the improves mental clarity definitely sounds like, at least with the Nine of Swords, it could help with that, right? But if that sounds like something you think would be beneficial for you guys, I'll put the name of the mudra in the description of the video as well if you wanted to look into it a little bit more. Wrap up there, guys. I'll see you all next month. All right, bye.